There are fewer things in this world that capture my interest more than a good fight flick. If there is one thing that could measure up though, it would be the wonderful world of professional wrestling. And Star Wars, but martial arts and Star Wars don't always coexist in harmony. Why are these lightsaber noises here? What are you trying to do, Protector 2? Oh, thank you so much, Rogue One. Donnie Yen makes everything better. The origins of professional wrestling as we know it began with Greco-Roman catch wrestlers, choreographing matches to put on shows. Over the many decades, the theater and show aspects of professional wrestling grew, and the physicality of the performers needed to evolve to keep the fans interested. In that time, other grappling and striking martial arts besides Greco-Roman have been introduced by wrestlers of all backgrounds, resulting in some very interesting and extremely exciting sequences and matches. I'm the Martial Arts Foam Freak, and these are 10 great martial arts moves in professional wrestling. Number 10, Superman Punch, Roman Reigns. Now I know Roman Reigns is a very controversial figure, and to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan myself, but there are a few terms that even the greenest of MMA fans are familiar with. Every time I watch UFC with my dad, he calls every submission an armbar, and almost every punch is a Superman punch. This may explain why the WWE's current poster child has a moveset that is limited to easily recognizable moves and very little flair. In mixed martial arts, the Superman punch is a popular move, but it doesn't come around much because it's so easily telegraphed. Whenever it is pulled off, it usually leads to a devastating KO. Most recently, Anthony Pettis on the losing end of a bloody fight made a comeback thanks to one sudden punch. Now Roman Reigns has been involved in some otherwise good matches, but his moveset constantly reminds fans of John Cena's 5 moves of doom. No matter how much punishment Roman takes, all he has to do is land 2 of his 5 signature moves and the match is over. One of these moves is his Superman punch. This isn't the most creative move in the world of professional wrestling, but it doesn't help that every time Roman does it, he cocks his arm like he's got a Mega Man Buster at the end of his wrist. Superman punch, spear, win, boo! Superman punch, spear, win, boo! And repeat. Although that time he Superman punched Vince McMahon off the apron, that was pretty cool. Number 9, spinning back fist, Kairi Sane and Asuka. The spinning back fist is a nifty tool that most mixed martial artists carry in their back pockets. The maneuver isn't often seen in television fights, but whenever it lands, it typically leads to a sudden knockout. Fighters who bust a spinning back fist are either fighters looking for a knockout of the night bonus, or fighters willing to try risky maneuvers like John Jones, Kung Lee, or Vitor Belfort. 2 wrestlers that keep this move in their repertoire are the Japanese wrestlers and current WWE superstars Asuka and Kairi Sane. While they both use it on a fairly regular basis, they sometimes pull the move out of nowhere, leading to crowds reacting like they just saw someone take a sledgehammer to the face. Even if the move isn't pulled off accurately, it's so fast and random that it seems devastating. Oftentimes, Asuka's strike looks more like a spinning back elbow, but somehow that sounds even more dangerous. Japan is home to what is commonly known as strong style, and these women are clear examples of it. Number 8, total elimination leg sweep, Kyle O'Reilly. Leg sweeps are fun. They don't deal any substantial damage to an opponent, but a well-timed one can turn the tide of a fight. Most importantly though, they're flashy, and they're pretty. The 32-year-old Kyle O'Reilly uses his martial arts background in a lot of different ways in the ring, but most recognizable is his leg sweep. Recognizing the growing popularity of the sport of mixed martial arts in the late 2000s, O'Reilly thought he could learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing and use them in his wrestling to make his matches look more legitimate. Whether he's part of the Undisputed Era or the Red Dragons, or he's teaming with Roderick Strong or Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly uses his leg sweep in a finisher called total elimination. While O'Reilly goes low with the leg sweep, his partner goes high with either a flying knee or a lariat clothesline. This well-timed and devastating finisher can draw any match to a close. The scissor kick in wrestling is very different from what it is in the world of martial arts. In martial arts, the scissor kick runs horizontal as both kicks run side to side, striking 2 opponents at once. There are variations depending on whether the person performing the move is using Taekwondo, Wushu, Capoeira, or even Salat. This move isn't often used in the real world since it isn't very practical, but it's so cool to watch that it can be seen in all kinds of demonstrations and movies. In the world of professional wrestling, what people call a scissor kick is more reminiscent of an axe kick. Perhaps mainly made famous by the 6-time heavyweight champion Booker T, the wrestling scissor kick sees the performer jumping in the air, pulling their leg up as high as they can. And while gravity does its job, they bring their leg down on the back of the head of their opponent. For the most part, whenever Booker T hit this move, you could guarantee the match was over. Really made a 10-year-old me hate the persona known as King Booker. Oh, and Alicia Fox had a pretty good one too. It was really good. It was really scary looking. The less theatrical axe kick seen in wrestling comes from Ricochet and the previously mentioned Kyle O'Reilly. The spectacle in this version comes from how terrifyingly scary this move actually looks. Take away the jump and add some more precision and contact and you've essentially just got a boot to the back of someone's head. Wrestling's fantastic. Number 6, Hell's Gate Gogoplata, The Undertaker. Over the years, the man we know as The Undertaker has made it clear that he is a fan of mixed martial arts. Mark Calloway himself made his presence known at a UFC show confronting the Beast Brock Lesnar in what was more of a quick and awkward confrontation than anything that seemed serious. The dead man even holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, however it may have been acquired under some questionable circumstances. He managed to work up to his black belt in less than 2 years' time, a feat that many take up to a decade to accomplish. Others like BJ Penn or Travis Stevens gained their black belt in a relatively short amount of time, but they constantly proved themselves against the best competition in the world. The Undertaker did so behind closed doors under Rolls Gracie, an instructor who had lost some credibility in awarding a black belt to people who may have not deserved it. Nonetheless, some of the only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skill that most fans have seen in the ring comes in the form of the Phenom Submission, a modified Gogoplata he calls Hell's Gate. Adopting the submission in the late 2000s on the latter half of his career, the Hell's Gate finisher was quickly taken seriously as he started defeating top contenders such as Edge and CM Punk. Undertaker's repertoire consisted of slams and strikes that he had done for over a decade, so the Hell's Gate finisher was a refreshing inclusion to his moveset. Number 5, Trouble in Paradise, Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston is and has been one of the most entertaining figures in WWE for the past 11 years. His antics every year at the Royal Rumble, his patented trust fall dive, and the SOS finisher are just a few of the tricks he has that have kept people entertained for just over a decade. He doesn't have some expansive background in martial arts like other people on this list, just pure athleticism. The current WWE champion does have some training in a martial art that other wrestlers on this list don't, the African-Brazilian art of capoeira. Kofi's trainer is none other than Maurice Crump. If that name sounds familiar to you, then you may have seen his work in films like Wrong Side of Town or the aforementioned Protector 2. Ah, the lightsaber noises! Oh, go away, lightsaber noises! Go away! Even before he started training with Crump, Kofi often finished matches with a kick called the Trouble in Paradise. The Trouble in Paradise is essentially a cheat 360 roundhouse kick where his body becomes parallel to the ground. This finisher has created some incredible moments, from his inspiring WrestleMania 35 victory, kicks from out of nowhere, and of course that beautiful Trouble in Paradise to The Miz where he pretty much made full contact with Miz's face at full speed and we're still pretty sure he knocked him clean out. Seriously, go watch it. It's like the perfect blend of brutal but beautiful. It's so nice. Number 4, the Van Daminator, Rob Van Dam. It doesn't take an expert to tell you that Rob Van Dam has experience in martial arts. His wrestling style is so unique that anyone watching their first RVD match could tell you that the man could take care of himself just as well outside of the ring as he could inside of it. When Mr. Monday Night was growing up, he bounced around from kickboxing to karate to taekwondo to aikido and even kendo. It's unclear if his name was given to him after the muscles from Brussels, but they do share an incredible level of flexibility. Everyone knows JCVD's signature split seen in a majority of his films, but the whole effing show has a split of his own. A lift recognized by the US and International All-Around Weightlifting Associations, the Van Dam lift sees the participant getting into a full 180-degree split before attempting to lift a weight up to their abdomen, while all of that extra weight stretches the split to its limit. Inside the ring, Van Dam has become known for a handful of unique attacks. His insane leg drop variations, of which there are seriously a lot, the Rolling Thunder, split leg moonsault and moonsaults out of whatever position he wants, body scissor pin attempts, the Van Terminator, and of course the beautiful Van Daminator. I admit the Van Daminator is a bit ridiculous. He usually throws a chair at someone's face expecting them to catch it, and as soon as they do, he delivers a jumping spin kick to the chair into the person's face. If you're asking why the person would hold the chair up to their face, all I have to say is stop asking questions and enjoy one of the finest the wrestling world has ever seen. Number 3, Robinson's Special, Will Ospreay. What species even is Will Ospreay? When the aerial assassin is in the ring, the fans are guaranteed to have their minds blown. His style is so fast and clean that a few years ago, wrestling purists were outraged and refused to acknowledge anything he did as actual wrestling. Ospreay has proved time and time again that he is one of the leading high flyers in the world, but he can still stand and strike with the best of them. As far as I've been able to tell, Ospreay has no former martial arts training. He's just wickedly talented. If he sees or thinks of a move, he just practices it until he gets it right, which is actually a very martial arts way to go about it. Every move he does is so crisp that it looks like he's been doing them since birth, which would be weird. I'm just picturing a baby doing a Spanish fly to a doctor in his first few minutes of life. Ospreay's handspring enziguri, a move he shares with Cedric Alexander, could have made this list, but one of the coolest tricks Ospreay has is his Robinson Special. I can only describe it as a horizontal corkscrew in which, on the way down, the aerial assassin brings his leg down on the opponent. It's honestly a move I've only ever seen in movies like Ong Bak, and I'm pretty sure I've seen Boyka do it a time or two. Also some Martial Club videos. It's a thing of beauty, and it is very much one of my very favorite things to see in the ring. Number 2, everything Speedball Mike Bailey does. Mike Bailey isn't the most threatening man to ever step into the ring. He isn't completely jacked, and for the most part he looks like a pretty average guy. He is, however, a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo. Therefore, he shall not be messed with. He even adopted his Taekwondo background into the aesthetic of his character. Will Ospreay is a brilliant high flyer with impressive striking capability, and Mike Bailey is completely the opposite. He is a brilliant striker with some really good high flying moves as well. His 360 turn kicks, turn kick combinations, moonsault knee drop reminiscent of Tony Jaa and Ong Bak, and his shooting star knee drop, which he calls the Ultima Weapon. These are just a few examples of how he uses his skills in the ring. The Canadian Speedball Mike Bailey is someone I would absolutely love to see wrestle live, but sadly as a result of wrestling in the US in 2016 without a work visa, he isn't allowed back in the US until 2021. He's just one of those wrestlers that I can put on any match on YouTube and I'm guaranteed to be entertained. Before I get to number 1, a quick honorable mention for the super kick. The move has become as common as the DDT, with wrestlers like the Usos, Young Bucks, Kevin Owens, or Adam Cole pulling 5 out in one match. But whenever the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels did it, it was like Bruce Lee kicked someone's head off. All it took was a single sweet chin music to get the 3 count. Number 1, Black Masked Aleister Black. Without even knowing he's a wrestler or a martial artist, all it takes is one look at the former Tommy Yen to know that this is one bad dude. He's 5'11", 215 pounds, covered in tattoos, and looks like the Hells Angels answer to him. I actually hear he's a pretty nice guy though, just don't piss him off or he'll probably kick your head off. Aleister Black trained extensively in kickboxing and Pencak Silat, and anyone who follows him on Instagram will tell you that he still keeps it up. He even got his real-life wife Zelina Vega training as well. Black never competed in competitions, taking an interest in professional wrestling before the opportunity arose. He still uses his background to perform some incredible striking combinations, as well as some powerful ones. That moment he countered Gargano's suicide dive with a knee strike to the face may have been one of the greatest things I've ever seen. But it is nothing compared to the Black Mass. Black's knockout finisher, the Black Mass, is a spinning heel kick to the face that can guarantee the end of any match. It takes tremendous skill for Black to perform the move, but a lot of credit should go to the recipient of the knockout blow. The way an opponent decides to sell the hit means everything, not just in the Black Mass, but in wrestling as a whole. Some people barely get out of the way of the kick, while others choose to take the full foot to the face, and God bless these brave souls. The best part of the move is that it can come out of nowhere for a sudden end of a match, or be used to put an exclamation mark on a great story. I'm of course talking about the time Johnny Gargano took a Black Mass only to collapse onto Aleister Black's chest. Black stood him up saying the words, "I absolve you of all of your sins," before blasting Gargano with another kick, putting an appropriate end to an incredible feud. The Black Mass is truly magnificent. What are your favorite martial arts moves in wrestling? Comment below, like, share, and subscribe. While I have you, head on over to martialjournal.com for articles on martial arts training and philosophy, as well as some movie reviews. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.